No offense, but it sounds like some fucking commie gobbledygook.
All right. What is it? Friday night? Must be the Friday Night Radio Baloney Live. I'm your host, Richie Baloney. How's everybody doing out there? Looks like we already got Rosie and Izzy, Ottawa James in the chat. Good to see you guys. All right. Let's go to the menu first. Let's see what we'll be talking about tonight very quickly. Then we should go back to the chat, and then we'll get into these stories in detail. All right. First off, of course, we're going to talk about these Trump UFO document releases. Now, look, I said that, it wasn't going to really answer any questions, but it'd be interesting, and it is. It is. It's not like, Trump standing in front of a UFO, right, in Area 51. But, it's interesting, and hey, it's UFO stuff. I mean, come on. All right, UK elections. Now, this is not parliamentary elections there, not a general election in the UK. These are like local elections, but it's a bellwether for how things are going. And the Reform Party in the UK has dominated. Labour is just getting crushed. I mean, they might just be destroyed. They might be done as a party, Labour, actually. We will talk about that. It's very interesting. And we will go to also, what's going on here? So there are some stats that came out of the UK in terms of trans and, victimhood. And there's always the narrative push that there's this genocide going on. It turns out it's not true. At least in the UK, they're more often the perpetrator than the victim there. And we've seen a bunch of stuff, haven't we, in terms of like mass shootings and whatnot, coming from one community, if you can call it a community, if anything is a community. We'll take a look at that. It shows you the kind of total failure of mainstream media in informing the public. Let's see. So, major development. Federal judges ruled the Trump DOJ can officially keep 600 plus ballot boxes seized by the FBI in Fulton County, Georgia. The DOJ does not have to return any election materials. Fraud is about to come out. So, this is related to the 2020 election. And yeah, I think that everybody expected that Trump would want to look into that. And they are. Whether or not anything will come of it, I mean, I don't know. Nothing ever seems to come of anything, does it? Tim Burchett posted this. He's now the chair of Doge. And but this is not Doge related. Here's a guy who's, I guess, an up-and-coming, a rising Democrat star. And it shows him in 2016. And then after, I guess, maybe he watched a 70s blaxploitation movie or something and decided to reinvent himself politically. Yeah. Also, too, we have him here on Joe Rogan talking about the NGOs, $1 trillion into foreign countries, and basically money laundering, getting money, getting that money redirected back to Democratic politicians. Not surprising to anybody. Canada's Bill C22 spying bill. So Mark Carney travels around the world making these high-flown speeches about world, the hegemons and new world order and blah, blah, blah. In terms of legislation, this is what he's doing. It's censorship bills. It's hate speech bills. It's spying bills. Bills to spy on you, for the government to just spy on you and track you everywhere you go. So it's a different picture. The public, Carney going out and doing his speeches and traveling the world and talking about worthless MOUs. That's one side. The other side is all of this very malevolent legislative stuff. This is the obsession in terms of policy right now. So we will go over one of these bills, Bill C22. Liberal Party. So Obama's dining with Carney tonight. You got a booty judge, booty geek, booty judge, booty sauce. I don't know what his name is. And Slotkin joined Canada's Carney at Liberal Strategy session. Isn't this American style politics? Or isn't the media worried about American style politics? That's what we hear about with the conservatives. American style politics, Trump, Maple, MAGA, blah, blah, blah. It's fine when it's Democrats. That's fine, right? Hillary was at the liberal convention, not the last one, but the one before. And that's not fine. That's not American style politics. That's not the Liberal Party of Canada using American style politics. Apparently, the Americans aren't evil now. They keep telling us that they're evil and bad, right? Every elbows up liberal voter is, declaring war on the United States. But this is fine, though. This is fine. It really shows you what it's actually all about. What the elbows up is actually all about. Let's see, BC Conservative Party leadership race. So there'll be another election, I think, in about 2 years in BC, 2 or 3 years. And the Conservative Party is well, there wasn't one for about 40 years until the last election, when they almost took it after years of insane socialist NDP governance. So now they need a new leader after their old leader was punted. And we're going to take a little bit of a look at this race. Conservatives, the polling right now suggests that they're going to dominate in the next election, although things can change. And I'll never overestimate the Canadian voter again, but we'll take a look at that. I mean, this is a huge thing for, California North to go massively conservative. This is like not something many people saw coming. I couldn't have imagined it 5 years ago, but it looks like it is happening, which is a very positive change. And we'll get into why. Here's AOC. She says that Black Americans created democracy in the United States. Why do they need to make things up? It's so silly. Let's see, Canada immigration. Here is a woman talking about, and it's been a topic on this channel, at Tim Hortons and how terrible it is now, and how there are no Canadians working at Tim Hortons. Only people from rural India are qualified to work at Tim Hortons for some reason now. And anyway, she's not happy about it. She's noticed that it sucks too, and she's going to tell us about it. I think we're going to enjoy it. Let's see. What do we have here? It's amazing. The CBC, once Mark Carney got his majority, all of a sudden they started noticing things. It's just so weird. So strange. Let's see. Now that the Liberals are safe, now that Carney is safe, we're going to talk about liberal waste. I mean, look, this country is in a terrible fiscal position. We have our debt was doubled under Trudeau. It's getting worse. He's doubling the deficit from what Trudeau wanted to do. He is Turbo Trudeau, Mark Carney. And we'll get a look at some of his generosity, some of his infinite generosity and empathy for non-Canadians. Over $13 billion in climate-related support. So we're going to go to the spring economic statement and take a look and just confirm this. And yeah, it's true. But Epstein, apparently they have released a suicide note from Epstein. We'll take a look at this. I don't know what this really means, if this is much of a big deal, but I don't know. I thought we could take a couple of minutes to look at it. Woke Canada. Don't be Canada. This is reported by the Daily Mail in the UK. Like, Canada is now internationally a laughingstock and a cautionary tale. Canadian children forced to flee woke play about Indigenous rights after sleazy drag queen character began behaving very inappropriately. Did they ask the Indigenous people at all what they thought about? Like, did they really need a drag queen in the play representing them? I don't know. I'm guessing no. I think there's a lot of pretty socially conservative Indigenous people in Canada too. Probably wouldn't be down with this. But it's never really about what it's about, is it? Not really. It's always really about Marxism at the end of the day. Yeah, so Canada continues to be an international laughingstock, and warning, don't be like this. And it's the most Canadian thing ever these days. Let's see. So lots of warnings coming out from business leaders in Canada that Mark Carney's net zero plans and competitiveness by, Canada needs to be more competitive by making everything we do more expensive, that these are really bad ideas. They're coming out saying these are really bad ideas, actually. This is really hurting, not good. We're going to take a look at that. And also, but what do we got here? Mark Carney. Oh, yes. So he is responding to comments from business leaders saying, yeah, this guy's bad. Let's go to the last bookmark of the show. We are always fans of Victor Davis Hanson here. This is fantastic. I believe one of you guys sent this in, probably. I don't know. There's lots of stuff. There's palate cleansers. There's animals. We like to end off the show with some palate cleansers. Well, it's just some random stuff. You got dogs there and all kinds of stuff. And this dingbat, champagne socialist dingbat, Hollywood, I guess Cretin. Can we call them Cretins? We can call them Cretins, can't we? Yes, we can. All right. Now, for anybody watching on YouTube, please go to the new channel, Radio Baloney News. 309 videos there. It's about 8 months old, something like that. This is where all of the clip videos go now. The channel you're watching right now is only for live stream now, even though there's 2,000 old videos there. But everything now is going, that's not live streams, is going on to Radio Baloney News. Please go there and subscribe. Help me out. The algorithm hates you. It hates me. It fears us joining our powers and becoming more powerful than it could even imagine. So do it. Just subscribe. Do it. Make a purple-haired gremlin cry somewhere in the world. All right. All right. Well, now what? Oh, so as everybody knows, we're streaming right now on Rumble, first and foremost, YouTube, X, and Locals. And when you like the stream, you get free good karma from the channel. It's excellent, very pure, unadulterated good karma. But when you like the stream early, you get extra. So Rosie is number 1. That means 6 good karmas, people. 6. That's a lot. Let's see. Izzy got the 3rd like, so that is 4 good karmas. Wow. So good. So good. Let's see. Ottawa James says, Tim's does suck. Tim Hortons, it's terrible. I haven't been there in years. Last time I was there were flies all over the donuts. No thanks. Let's see. Anyway, how you doing, Ottawa? Good to see you. Izzy, how you doing? Rosie, how you doing? Let's see. Let's see. Amazing Faces, good to see you. All right. Danny over on YouTube. Good to see you. All right. What do we got? Danny says, Canada is becoming an international embarrassment. It surely is. It surely is. Read Tristan Hopper's book, Don't Be Canada. That's a good one. I've got that on my bookshelf. It goes over this and why. It's a short book, too. Izzy says, wait, you mean paying extra for numbers in a spreadsheet doesn't save the environment? Only in an Oxford PhD's mind or imagination does that happen. Amazing Faces is got the 5th, so that's 2 good karmas. Wow. Wow, that's so good. Ottawa says, Tim's used to have awesome chocolate eclairs back in the day. Back in the day before it was a Sri Lankan village. A pre-industrial Sri Lankan village with flies all over everything. Let's see. Freedom Butterfly, how you doing? All right, reposted. Thank you very much for that. Thank you very much for that. What else you guys thinking? What else you guys got out of your minds? What else you guys thinking? What's going on? I better have a sip of ranch juice. Hold on. So good. Maybe some nicotine as well. Let's try that. Nice. So how you guys been? All right. Let's see. Well, I guess that's it. Let's just go. Let's get into this. You know what? And I know you guys are looking forward to this because it's the Trump files. It's the Trump UFO files. Hello. Let's see. White House presidential unsealing for UAP encounters. UAP encounters. I prefer UFOs myself, frankly. Per President Trump's directive, the Department of War has declassified and released unresolved UAP records. This is an unprecedented level of transparency. No other admin has gone this far. Files now live at war.gov/UFO. Additional files will be released by the Department of War on a rolling basis, which is exciting. So this is, official White House account here. The golden age of America begins right now, it says. This alone, the fact that this happens, isn't Trump worth it just for this? Not that you're going to get any questions answered from any of this stuff, and we're going to go to it right now. But, there's not going to be a picture of Trump in front of a UFO at Area 51. And we're not getting that. But it's still interesting because anything UFO is interesting, right? So let's go take a look. Here is where it is. So let's see if we can make this. Can I make this bigger? Let's make this bigger. Let's click on one here. So these are just photos. Now there are videos too. We'll get to those, but let's take a look at the photos first. Infrared still image. Black is hot, so infrared, so heat signatures, right? You see right there. Captured of unidentified object over western United States in December of 2025. That doesn't really tell us much there, does it? Although, this would be from the military, so they, this is something they're taking note of. Here, another one right here. Over western United States. Okay. Let's go to the next one. You can see one up there. A black, it's just this black dot up there. Unidentified object over western United States. That's 2025. So this is all recent stuff. So that looks like a chopper there. Below helicopter. Blah, blah, blah. Object. Unidentified object below helicopter. So there's the helicopter. There is the object right there. And, the problem with these is that there's no perspective, right? So you can't tell, is that further away? Is it closer to the camera? No idea. But let's go to the next one. Here's a couple of weird things there. Over western United States, that's 2025. So this is all pretty recent stuff. There we go. That looks like it might be the same one from further back. Keep going. Now, okay, that's not real. So this isn't real. Actual site photo with FBI lab rendered graphic overlay depicting corroborating eyewitness reports from September 2023 of an apparent ellipsoid bronze metallic object materializing out of a bright light in the sky. So this is basically, an artist's rendition right here. So which you might have noticed immediately that's obviously not real, but that's what witnesses say happened. So that emerging out of a bright light in the sky. So what is that? What's the bright light? Is that like coming out of the warp drive? Is that like out of a different dimension? I don't know, but it's fun to think about, isn't it? Let's see what's going on here. Archival imagery from the Apollo 17 mission to the moon. The yellow box contains an enlarged area of the original photo in which 3 lights are visible above the lunar terrain. That's pretty cool. Now, the thing about being on the moon is that you got no protection from like solar rays and all that kind of stuff. So this would have been film, right? They wouldn't have been digital. Obviously, back then it was film. So obviously, you can have kind of artifacts from that sort of thing. But cool though, right? Cool. Let's see. U.S. military operator reported as featuring UAP flying across their screen. So you can see this here. And I believe we have the video of that as well. What do we have here? This is near the United Arab Emirates, featuring reported UAP. I don't really see. Is this? Oh, that would be it here. That must be it up here. So I don't know. That doesn't really tell us much. What do we have here? U.S. military operator reported observing UAP flying just above the surface of the ocean, taking multiple 90-degree turns at high speed. So, I think it's this here, right there. Okay. So I think we've seen that video as well. So maybe, well, let's just go through if there's anything. What's this here? That's cool. Still from a video featuring an 8-pointed area of contrast captured via infrared sensor. So that's kind of interesting there. Okay. And what is this one? Military operator reported UAP while operating within African airspace. So where is it? So this is a problem. I mean, they're not. Where is it? Where is the? Do you guys see it? You can't really. Yeah, I can't see anything on there, to be honest. Oh, how about this one? Indo-Pacific Command reported UAP that resembled a football-shaped body near Japan. Oh, that's interesting right there. Okay. U.S. Army reported a UAP in North America in 2026. So this is really recent here. So you can't really see anything, though. So it's not that exciting. There's a dot there. And yeah, okay. So we've been through all of these now. So let's close this up. Let's go back to the chat for 1 second before we get to the videos. Dame Pam, how you doing? Let's see. Mental Health, good to see ya. Trudeau Survivor, good to see ya. All right. What are you guys talking about? Freedom Butterfly says, dildo in the sky with diamonds. They could be flying dildos. It's true. I mean, I think the thing about these is that it's military. So it's definitely not a hoax. Because you can now, I mean, with technology today, you can do a hoax video that's going to stump like experts now. Like anybody could just do that in their basement now, right? But these are military. So these aren't hoaxes. Let's see. Dame Pam says, oh no, the aliens are coming. The aliens are coming. What would you do if they did, though? I mean, I guess it just really depends on, are they nice aliens or mean aliens? You know? They could be nice aliens that, in trying to be nice, accidentally kill everybody. There's that. But I think it's unlikely that if they were mean aliens, they would try to be mean, but make everybody really happy. I think that's unlikely. Let's. All right. What else you guys saying? Dame Pam says, when the Nazis introduced submarines, no one knew what they were at first. Well, I thought they had submarines in First World War. I thought, didn't they? All right. Ottawa James's cat is an alien. Very well. Let's get to the videos. Be nice to that cat, then, by the way. You don't want him telling his friends that you're an a-hole. What do we got here? Okay, let's make this a little bit smaller. So let's take a look at some of these videos. All right, what do we got here? Let's take a look. So I think we already missed it there. Where is it? Oh, there, right there. I mean, doesn't that just look like it could be a balloon or something? I don't know. Let's go to this one. See if we can make it bigger. Okay, let's go back. Okay, hold on a second. So, video description is right at the 5-second mark. This video depicts an object moving right to left across the top right quarter of the sensor field of view. So 5-second mark, object moving from right to left. So at 5 seconds, let's go. Here's 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, there we go. So it should be. What? I can't really tell what the hell's happening in there. Let's see the next thing. Let's see. Did we do this one? Let's go to this one. Here we go. Okay, so let's read the description first. An area of contrast moving from the bottom left to the top right of the sensor field of view at approximately 6 seconds. Okay, let's take a look. There we go. See that? It just looks like a little tic tac or something. Okay, kind of weird. I mean, kind of could be a lot of things, though. The UAE, let's take a look. So, I guess this is following something that we can't really see. Oh, there we go. There it is. See that? Whoa. Okay, that's crazy now. What can do that? All right, let's watch that again. Hold on. Look at this. There it goes. It goes. And you can see it actually turn. Okay, that's pretty weird. All right. That's very interesting. Let's check out this one. Okay, I am not seeing anything here. Okay, what does the description say? Area of contrast becomes indistinguishable against the background of the center of the right side of the display. I can't see anything there. G Flood, how you doing? All right. Let's get on to the next one. All right. Greece. Greece. What do we have here? Let's do the description first. A screen is split into 2 viewing areas for the first 10 seconds of the video, with the right side displaying electro-optical, that's exciting, footage, and the left side displaying WSIR footage. An area of contrast becomes distinguishable against the background in the center of the right frame. All right, let's take a look. Center of the right frame. So, oh, there it is. Tiny little thing. There it is. There it goes. That's your alien right there, folks. What I'd really like is to see just like a picture of what, like something close up. We can actually see details. And that's what we haven't gotten at this point. And you'd think they'd have better cameras, right? In the military at this point. I don't know. But I'm not totally satisfied with all these. Let's go to Gulf of Oman. There it is right there. See that? It's doing weird stuff, like right over top of the water. Like it's strange. Like, could it be just like some artifact of the technology? I don't know. But let's take another. I mean, like you might be starting to figure out at this point that, yeah, there's nothing really that's going to answer the ultimate question in this. So that wasn't exciting. Let's try that again. Oh, something just went across the top there. All right, not very exciting. What about this? Syria. What's going on in Syria? Well, that wasn't very exciting. Area of irregular color and brightness, mainly consisting of white and red highlights, appears near the center at the top edge of the sensor display. Okay, well, let's try it again. Up here. Well, that's strange. But I mean, that does totally look like just like some some sort of artifact of the technology. Let's, what do we got here? Was that an orange alien blob? Two semi-transparent, irregularly shaped orange areas overlay the background imagery, persisting for less than 2 seconds each. So I guess the aliens are orange blobs. Again, that feels like it could just be like some sort of, I don't know, like digital error. So I don't know. I'm not an expert on this stuff, but let's go to, I mean, we could just go through these for like hours, and we're not really going to know anything more than we knew already. I think I grabbed a couple that were interesting. Hold on. Let's see. So how about this one here? Here's one. Let's take a look. Actually, I'll make this bigger. So there's an alien right there. You see that? There it is. Let's try and get it just as it's going past. So does it? So you can see it going behind this. So if it was going behind it, then like, yeah, you can see it's like half behind it there. So that means it wouldn't just be something like on like the lens or something, right? There, it's completely behind it there. Okay, so that's interesting. So it's definitely a physical thing. Yeah, weird. Let's check out the next thing. Okay, that one there. Hold on. All right, what's this one? Let's take a look at this one. Yeah, this is the one that's going right over top of the ocean. Actually, we've got the Fox report on it here. Let's take a look.
An alien life.
So is the truth really out there?
Senior White House correspondent Peter Doocy joins us live with the details. What have you learned, Peter?
Good morning. So a White House official left this hard drive on my desk overnight. You can see on it, it says AARO files copy 203. That is the all domain resolution office copy 203. This is the first big batch of UFO disclosure ordered by President Trump. Some of the clips and videos on there have popped up different places before. Some of them have not. And we have been going through this all morning and overnight to try to put together some of the best videos so we can all look at this together. This is a world exclusive right here. So let's go to the first clip. Over the skies of the United Arab Emirates in June 2024. An inverted teardrop with a vertically linear trailing mass, as described by the War Department, suspended below. The War Department cannot say for sure what this is. It is officially listed as an unresolved UAP report. The next video, over the skies of Iraq.
Let's go back to the one for a second, because you can see, it's really interesting. You can see there's something hanging below it there, which is cool, huh? But let's move on.
UAP report. The next video, over the skies of Iraq, December 2022, moving bottom left to top right of the field of view. All CENTCOM gets from this is an area of contrast. That's what they describe it as. It is officially still listed as an unresolved UAP report. Next video, over the skies of Greece, October 2023, what is described as a small and circular UAP flying near the surface of the ocean towards land. CENTCOM can't tell us what it is. It is officially listed as an unresolved UAP report. Within the last 2 minutes, all of these videos have gone live on war.gov/UFO, and a White House official tells Fox First, while past administrations sought to discredit or dissuade the American people, President Trump is focused on providing maximum transparency to the public, who can ultimately...
Well, I think it's obvious what's happening here. The aliens have a city under the ocean, and occasionally they have to come to the surface and go to land to get snacks. That's what I think. I don't know. It's weird though, isn't it? It's very weird because that thing is booking it too. That thing is moving. So let's move on. I think I got another one for you. Where was it? Let's see. Yeah, we've seen that one already. All right, so that's it. I don't know. Look, I didn't think we were going to get anything that was going to blow anybody's minds. I think it's cool. I think it's interesting, and I want more, obviously. Like, I want to continuously get more information about it. But again, it doesn't really answer any questions we didn't, that we've had. It's not answering any questions that we've had. It's just kind of adding more to it, right? Again, we kind of need that real, like that photo close up. That's like from a military camera, right? From the military. So we know it's not a hoax, not just from like, somebody just put a video up on the intranet, right? Because you can make anything look super realistic now. Anybody can at home, right? But like from an official source where it leaves no doubt. That's what definitely, this thing isn't a balloon. It's not some, artifact from the technology. It's not some sort of error. It's not an illusion. It's not a trick of the light or something. We need that one thing that just says, oh, yeah, that's clearly not from this world. And we don't have it yet. We don't have it. What are you guys talking about? Let's see. What are you guys talking about? Actually, let's go here. Hold on. There we go. Golfing show. Let's see. What are you guys talking about? All right, hold on. I'm trying to find the UFO stuff in the chat here. Hold on a second. Let's see. Trudeau Survivor says, looks like a seagull. I guess one of the UAPs. If that's a seagull, that's one fat ass seagull, Mental Health says. Let's see. I mean, the thing is that you can't really tell what any of them are. This is the thing. Let's see. Dame Pam says, I think this is just another psyop. That's definitely on the table. Definitely. Dame Pam says, control the people by things they don't understand. Yeah, I mean, I think the whole psyop thing is definitely on the table, right? Some of the stuff that these guys are, that you have, like Tim Burchett, who I like a lot, right? But others too. Some of the things that they're saying, like, who was it that was it Matt Gates who was saying that he was told that they were breeding humans and aliens? Like, if that was really happening, I mean, that would be so incredibly super infinite secret that they're not telling him. So that stuff makes me think, is this just a psyop, or are they just fucking with them? Is it like they think it's funny to get them to say these things publicly? I don't know. I really don't know, but who knows? I mean, distraction, maybe it's all real. I don't know. Freedom Butterfly says, someone will go through these files with AI. I'm sure they have. Let's see. Let's see. Dave Peb says, hologram technology is real. I've seen holograms. Let's see. Yeah, we've had, those weird hologram, but, they were kind of big, I think, in the 80s, weren't they? 80s, 90s? People, you could get like the hologram keychains and stuff, I believe. But in terms of like hologram, like in your somebody, it looks like there's somebody in your living room with you. I'm not sure about that one. Let's see. They're making a beer and weed run, Richie. Mental Health. Maybe. They got to eat, right? They got to eat. And they probably have addictions. Let's see. Dame Pam thinks it's an orchestrated distraction. I don't know. It could be a lot of things, right? Like, it could just be simply they got all this stuff and they don't know really what the hell it is, and they just don't think there's any harm really in releasing it at this point. There's some political gain in it, right? There could be also a psyop going on. It could be lots of different stuff. There could actually be aliens. I don't know. Candle Monkey, good to see ya. He says, hi, all. Is this the place where I don't have to pretend to like communists? Exactly. And all are welcome here, except communists. Let's see. Dame Pam says, seems like certain people are in control of testing the masses to see how stupid they are. Well, governments employ a lot of people. I mean, Canada's like 1 in 5 people works for the government in Canada. I'm sure they've got a whole bureaucracy to figure out, just seeing just how stupid people are, how far they can push them. Let's see. All right. Well, let's move on. And let me get rid of these tabs because I got too many tabs up. So it's of interest, right? It's of interest, but it's not, again, it's anybody who thought there was going to be a huge, some huge revelation coming out of it, I was mistaken, right? All right. So let's go to the UK elections. Now, these weren't like, okay, let's go to the UK elections. Now, these weren't, this wasn't the general election. These were like local elections, but this is like a bellwether for how the next general election, like the next parliamentary election is going to go. This wasn't for parliament. This was for like mayors, for local councils. But again, it tells you where the country is going politically. And this guy, it's not going well for him. Now let's take a look here. So this is the latest info. The Reform Party led by Nigel Farage, which is being called far right in the world press, and then even in their press in the UK, it gets called far right all the time. They're not. It's actually just kind of a very moderate conservative party. A lot of conservatives feel pretty let down by Nigel Farage, actually, because he doesn't seem like he's willing to do what's really necessary in terms of like immigration, for instance, which is the biggest issue. But Reform, nonetheless, with the collapse of Labor and the Conservatives, they're up 1,441 seats. So I believe they had 2 seats before, and they've just, I wouldn't say come out of nowhere, but pretty quickly become the force in British politics. You've got Labor down almost 1,400 seats there. They still have 959. Lib Dems up 151. They're slightly better. Conservatives down 555. So they're basically a dead party now as well, the Conservatives. They betrayed their voters for, 15 years before Labor finally won. And there's no trust there. Green, which is the, emerging party. I think this is probably a disappointment for them, being up 370. They have a crazy commie leader, by the way, who also thinks that he can make women's breasts larger through hypnotherapy. That's real. Made a video about it. So it's a seismic shift in British politics. And if we go to the polls for the next general election, which I think is a couple of years away, you can see Reform at 25%, Conservatives 18%, Labor at 17%, Greens at 17%, Lib Dems at 12%. So Reform is, ruling the roost there. Down here, that is Restore Britain. That is a new party led by Rupert Lowe, who was with Reform, but got kicked out by Nigel Farage, I think for actually being too effective and getting too much attention. They're at 4%. They're brand new. They're just months old. And so that's pretty impressive. And there is a chance they might actually displace Reform, because Rupert Lowe is very serious about dealing with these serious issues in the UK, like immigration, like crime. So let's go here. So Tommy Robinson posted this. The slithering Starmer refuses to resign after Labour were demolished across the land in the local elections. So here's Keir Starmer, the Labour leader, who's just been a total disaster.
Let me be clear, these are really tough results. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. And we have lost brilliant Labour representatives, people who put so much into their communities, so much into our party and our movement. And the voters have sent a message about the pace of change, how they want their lives improved. I was elected to meet those challenges, and I'm not going to walk away from those challenges and plunge the country into chaos. It was a 5-year term I was elected to do.
Shut up, Commie. Commie gets nothing. Yeah, so he's just a dead man walking at this point. You know, he's just going to, as all leftists do, cling to power for as long as possible, no matter how much damage it does to his party, the country itself. Rupert Lowe, leader of Restore Britain. History made. We won 10 out of 10 seats with overwhelming majorities in every single one. Yeah, they were winning at like 50%. Great Yarmouth first, then we restore Britain. So they ran under Great Yarmouth first, and we don't need to get into that, but it's Restore Britain. They're very new, right? They're just months old. Very special day. So they won 10 out of 10 seats that they ran in, and that, augurs well for them in the future. And this is a threat to Nigel Farage because he's a real conservative. But let's go to Nigel Farage first. Hold on. Where is he in here? Let's see. Sky News posted this. The English local election results are a truly historic shift in British politics, says Nigel Farage. And that's true.
Good morning, everybody. I am delighted to be here in the sunshine outside Havering Town Hall, which I can now say is under new management. And I'm absolutely... And it's significant. It's our first win of a borough in London. And that in some ways goes against the trend, because the pattern that's emerging over the country is that Labour are being wiped out by reform in many of their most traditional areas. And what you're going to see later on today is the Conservative Party being wiped out in their heartlands like Essex. So London goes a bit against the trend in that the Conservatives and Labour have held up in some of the other boroughs. But I think overall what's happened is a truly historic shift in British politics. We've been so used to thinking about politics in terms of left and right. And yet what Reform are able to do is to win in areas that have always been conservative, but equally, we're proving in a big way we can win in areas that Labour have dominated, frankly, since the end of World War I. At the moment, we're winning 1 in 3 of all the seats that are up, but I genuinely think the best is yet to come. I'm very excited about the North East results, the Yorkshire results, some more to come in the West Midlands. Essex, we're feeling supremely confident, and that's significant given that half the Cheddar Cabinet have seats in Essex. So it's a big day.
So a very big day. I mean, it's a massive success for him, right? Now, he was basically the leader of the Brexit movement for a long time, and that was seen as a very personal victory for him when the UK left the EU. But since he's become Reform leader, I think there's a lot of, especially like working class British people, who have been disappointed by his kind of softening of stances on immigration and not willing to do what is required, to turn their situation around. Crime, everything. So he's certainly better than Labour, and I think he'd be better than the Conservatives. But there's a lot of people. I think that Restore Britain is going to gain more popularity because Rupert Lowe was talking the talk. He's he's speaking the language of the disillusioned working class in the UK. And let's take a look. Hold on a second. I had something here. So here he is. Here is Rupert Lowe. And let's hear why he might be a threat to Farage.
I would detain and I would deport. Anyone arriving illegally, detain and deport. Anyone living here illegally, detain and deport. Anyone any criminals in our prisons who are foreign nationals, deport. Families of those people where a rapist is raping white, underage English working class girls who've been groomed, if that family knew that that person was perpetrating that evil on those vulnerable young girls, if they were foreign nationals or dual nationals, I would deport them. I have never said whole communities of British passport holders should be deported. What I have said is once we've done those things I've just outlined, we do need to start looking at those people who are on welfare, who've come here, who aren't contributing to our society, who don't speak English, and who effectively are going to be a burden to the taxpayer for the foreseeable future. And we should encourage them to leave.
Yeah, like by cutting off benefits, for instance, right? Like, why should you have to pay for somebody, their family forever, somebody who just showed up on your shores, right? And with obviously no intent to ever contribute, right? So that's going to sell. That is going to sell. And they're doing very well, very quickly. Considering how new they are. And Nigel Farage at this point, I think is seen by, Nigel Farage at this point, I think is seen as the only alternative to, the established parties, the establishment parties, Labor, Conservative, and the permanent bureaucracy. But as Restore Britain grows, the media has been trying to ignore him so far, but they tried to ignore Nigel Farage as well. And you see how that went, right? So that's going to be interesting in the future to see. And Farage has pivoted more to the right because of Rupert Lowe and Restore Britain. So yeah, but this is a seismic shift in British politics. It's changing. The old order is just being torn to the ground. All right, let's get back to the chat. All right. What are you guys talking about? Let's see. Brian Watson, how you doing over on YouTube there? Good to see ya. Mental Health says, where's a mod when you need one? I got to sort that out, actually. I got to talk to a couple of you guys and get a couple of moderators going. We don't generally need them. Like, we don't need them very often, but occasionally it would be nice to have a couple of people watching just to make sure. Let's see. Let's see. Ottawa James says Green parties are always psycho. They are. Actually, I've got a clip from the Green Party leader, Elizabeth May in Canada, coming up in this stream. But yeah, they're always psycho. Let's see. I did a video on what's his name, the leader of Zach Polanski, the leader of the Green Party in the UK, and it's I would go and watch that. Let's see. Mental Health says being able to make a woman's tatas grow through hypnosis would pay very well. Well, that's in the video I made about him, right? So he actually did say that. He said that on the radio. This was before he was in politics. He did this. He was a hypnotherapist. It looks like he's just a con artist. Dave Dan Pam says Greens are a joke as they fly around in planes and still drive cars, adding to the so-called world pollution that they don't want. Well, you take a look at like who was like the most famous like net zero guy, woke net zero guy. I think it was probably Justin Trudeau after Greta Thunberg, right? And yeah, what's he doing now? Well, he's not elbows up because he's spending all of his time in the States and he's flying around with Katy Perry on jets and hanging out on yachts. So it turns out Justin Trudeau was never that concerned about the environment after all. Or he lost his concern as soon as he wasn't prime minister. Let's see. Dame Pam says Starmer is now desperate. He is. He's going to cling on desperately. I think the voters are saying they don't want him, Chief Led says. Starmer. Oh, yeah. I mean, let's go back. Sorry, I got some allergies, you guys. My apologies. Look at that. Minus. They lost 1,400 seats. I mean, it's yeah. I think they're making it pretty clear. They're not, the public is, they're not huge fans of him anymore. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Troll in the chat. I don't see a troll anywhere. I think I saw somebody put a link in, but you know, I haven't seen anything else. Let's see. Candle Monkey says, holy, we can even call world leaders commies on this show. What a great podcast. Yes, you can do it as much as you like to your heart's content. Let's see. Oh, Mental Health already blocked and reported the troll's ass. Thank you, Mental Health. Appreciate it. Let's see. Tommy Robinson for PM. That would be interesting. They would never let that happen. I tell you that much. Dame Pam, Rupert Lowe walks the talk. He does. That's why Farage got rid of him out of he was with Reform. Metal Health says Richie for Canadian Prime Minister and Dame Pam for Deputy Prime Minister. But it would have to be Canadian Emperor is the thing. I would change the title name. So Emperor of Canada. So I would only accept it on those terms. And also no Charter of Rights and Freedoms, no Constitution. I have total emperor-like powers over everything. Those are my terms, right? Because there's a lot of important issues that have not been dealt with in Canada, and I don't think they're going to get dealt with. For one thing, people biking around, just biking around the streets in those like tight racing things, like they're at the Tour de France, that's not on. That's not happening anymore. Once I'm emperor, that's over. That's public hanging. I'd have teams driving around with gallows, right? Just looking for somebody. Biking to the corner store in their racing outfit. No, not in my Canada. Or, sorry, Baloney land, as it will be known. No, that's not happening in mine. So, and I think we'd all be very grateful at that too, right? I think that would be a social good, that we just don't have that anymore. Now, you can still wear them for bike races, but only bike races. You can't wear it to the bike race. You can't wear it home from the bike race. Just to the bike race. That's it. What else would I do? I would get rid of all penalties for fighting. In fact, in hockey, I'm talking about in hockey now, in the NHL. In fact, if you don't get in one fight, you get suspended for a game. How about that? Every player on every team has to be in at least one fight, or else they are suspended for a game. I think that's fair. What else? I don't like neon colors, so they're going to have to go. What else? I don't like pickles on hamburgers. So that's a capital offense right there. And again, I'd have inspectors going around checking. And then with the gallows, it'd be all done like on site. No trial. Let's see. Anyway, I digress. Ray, how you doing? Good to see ya. Just hitting like, returning to lurk mode. Thanks for the show. Much appreciated. Much appreciated. Let's see. I gotta sort out a couple of mods. Amazing faces. I gotta figure out how to do it, first of all. Let's see. Amazing Faces says, make remigration great again. Yeah, that's Murga. Dan Pam says she used to have a body like this gold gal. Damn it, what happened? I don't know. You're gonna have to get on it. Let's see. UK is more woke than Canada, Ottawa James says. I'm not sure about that. I think maybe in some ways, but like in the UK, they had the cast review on the so-called gender care for youth. And they banned, well, it's not quite banned, but the NHS is not allowed to give puberty blockers and cross-sex hormones to minors anymore. So in that way, they're way more based than Canada. Canada will be the last bastion of that. Everyone else is going to give up. Look, United States, UK, Sweden, Denmark, Norway. We're talking the wokest countries in the world there. But Canada will be the last to stand, the last to admit they were wrong. Let's see. Viceroy Richie. Emperor Richie. Emperor. Let's see. Let's see. Oh, septum rings. Septum rings. Mental health. What about septum rings? When I become emperor, gone. Gone. Let's see. Oh, what James says. LOL, get off my lawn. Get off my lawn. Will I make it illegal to go on anybody's lawn? Only for adults. Children can go on any lawn they want, but adults can't. They're not allowed to. Let's see. Let's see. And every lawn will have like a playground on it. Would be fun because I like kids. Kids are cool. They're better than humans. Humans. They're better than adults. That's what I meant. They're better than adults. Let's see. And we need more, or else our civilization is going to die. So I'm pro-child. Let's see. What James says, Richie's on a roll tonight. I think there's been a lot of ums and ahs from Richie tonight. But don't worry, we're going to keep it moving. No, I said we're going to ban the septum rings, G-Flood. Don't worry. We're going to ban them. Don't you worry once I take over. Dame Pam says, Western Canada is not nearly as woke as Eastern Canada. Well, so you have British Columbia, which has been, I think, the wokest. Then you got Alberta conservative, Saskatchewan conservative. Then you've got Manitoba. They've got an NDP government there, but there's lots of conservative people there too. And then you've got, you've got Ontario, which is, those we've got all those seats in Toronto, which is all super, super woke. But a lot of wokeness in Quebec as well. But British Columbia is changing. It's changing. So I think that the NDP has been so disastrous now with the land claim stuff here, which is, I don't think anybody really imagined that it could get that bad. Like it could get that dangerous where you're private property, your house, is now under threat. That I think that, I mean, look, when all this first emerged, the Cowichan decision in Richmond, where they gave 800, the courts gave 800 or Aboriginal title over 800 acres in Richmond, which is part of Greater Vancouver, in an area where, it's 3 million people, not in that 800 acres, obviously, but it's scary. It's right there, right? At that point, I thought, and I said, the NDP should not win another election in British Columbia for 1,000 years. Like, this should break people out of the woke spell. But anybody who's not batshit crazy should get out in the next election and vote conservative. Get rid of this stuff, because, like, I've said it a million times, and I'm going to continue to say it. Progressivism, radical progressivism, this new leftism, they're not trying to fit their ideology into the world. They're trying to fit the world into their ideology, and they are very happy to break the world and all the people in it for that ideology, right? They're not interested in outcomes like well-being of people, for instance, right? They're interested in ideology, and that's it. And I think that in British, like in the last election, like there hadn't been a conservative party in British Columbia for decades, and they almost won. It was razor tight. It was razor thin, and that was before the land claim stuff. So, but we're actually going to get into that later on in the show. I'm going to show you the new polling, and again, no leftist government should win in BC for 1,000 years after this, because it is truly shocking. Like, it's your worst nightmare of what leftists will do. Actually, it's actually not that, but it's as bad as you can imagine. In a society like Canada, it's as bad as you can imagine them doing now. Let's see. Freedom Butterfly asks, what the hell happened to the referendum? Well, they got the signature. You're talking about Alberta, the independence referendum. They got over 300,000 signatures on the petition. So they will be having there's a lawsuit from an indigenous group, but it's supposed to happen, the referendum, in October. Polling isn't looking good for a yes on that right now, but a lot of things can happen. Let's see. Freedom Butterfly says the stolen land BS is common excuse to take away property. I just think they don't think. Like, I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying, like, they're all in favor of that, but it's not communal property. It wouldn't be communal property for all the people of BC, right? That's not what's happening, right? It's being given away to these really relatively small bands. So I think really what it comes down to is that there's not really even a plan. Like, they just do what feels progressive. So it starts out with the land acknowledgements because it feels progressive and it feels nice, right? And then it goes on to, all of a sudden, well, how about fishing rights and all these various things? And then these things around the margins of, fee simple property rights. And then next thing you know, they're in court. The government has not even instructed their lawyers to protect fee simple private property rights. And all of a sudden you've got an indigenous group where the judge is saying, yeah, it looks like their land title rights are above. They supersede your private property rights in British Columbia. And 95% of the province, 95% of the province is open to this now. That's over $2 trillion worth of property. Like, this is a catastrophe. There's not going to be any investment in BC until this stuff is all dealt with. And this, I think, is just simply the logical progression of unthinkingly just doing what seems progressive and will prevent you from being called racist. Literally. I don't even think it's that complicated. I think it's literally that. Like, if you just let them keep going, right? Like, they will take you off a cliff. Like, they will bring your society to its knees because it feels like what they should be doing. They're not interested in outcomes when it comes to, like, human well-being or freedom or anything like that. They're interested in their ideology. All right, we're spending a lot of time on the chat tonight. Let's see. Let's see. Candle Monkey says, I think more people are seeing the damages. Well, it starts to get real when all of a sudden, maybe your house doesn't belong to you anymore. Let's see. There was funny business, Dame Pam, in that last election. There was funny business. G Flood says the people that hate rich heirs want indigenous property rights. Yeah, the people who don't like inheritance. That's ironic, isn't it? Again, it's like they don't care about any of this, though, right? It's what feels like it would be progressive and what will prevent them from being called racist. All right. Hold on. Sip of ranch juice. And actually, let me check out the ad reads first before we get on to the next story. See if there's anything fun for me to do. I don't know. How about Rumble Wallet? Let's just do one. Let's go. Then we'll get back to the news. All right, people, quick question. How much control do you actually have over your money right now? Technology has changed everything, and now it's changing how money works. Crypto started as a niche, but now it's going to mainstream. Faster payments, more control, fewer middlemen. This isn't hype. It's just where things are going, folks. And after getting started today, getting started today is easier than you think, or even starting that sentence. That's where Rumble Wallet comes in. With Rumble Wallet, you can buy Bitcoin, hold dollar-backed stablecoins, even own digital gold backed by real gold, real precious gold, all in one place. Setup is simple. It connects with MoonPay, so you can use your debit card, credit card, or bank account and be up and running in a minute, which is the best way. Everybody knows that. It's not about the amount. It's about getting in early and understanding what's coming next. Hopefully it's not communism. And once you're set up, you can even tip your favorite Rumble creators like me directly. So do this now. That's an order. Scan the QR code and click the link in the description and download Rumble Wallet. From there, you can set up your wallet, tap buy, and you're in the game. Take control of your money. Get started with Rumble Wallet today. Oh, yeah, that felt good. That's what I was born to do, folks. Born to do. All right. Let's get on to the next stories, huh? Let's go check out the next stories, right? What next stories we got here? Let's check them out. What do we have here? Important new study just published from the always brilliant Michael Biggs. Biggs studied homicides in Britain and found more transgender perpetrators than victims. Let me repeat that. Found more transgender perpetrators than victims. So this isn't going along with the genocide narrative, is it? And of course, we've seen how many mass shootings from transgender people in the last, 3-4 years. This clearly something is happening here, right? And yet in this time, the BBC reported 4 times more homicides with trans victims. Well, that is because of the narrative, right? They have a narrative to maintain, right? Again, they're not interested in fitting their ideology into the world. The world must fit into their ideology. They're very happy to break it in the process. Yeah. Transgender people are often portrayed as especially vulnerable to violence, but estimating victimization rates is difficult because reliable population denominators are lacking. BBC News published more than 4 times as many articles on transgender victims as on perpetrators, contributing to perceptions of exceptional vulnerability. The victim-perpetrator ratio among these individuals closely resembles that for males overall. Who could have guessed? And differs markedly than that for females. So men saying that they're women, the victim-perpetrator ratio among them closely resembles that of just males, just men, almost as if they were just men. I mean, geez, who could have guessed? Who could have guessed? But the problem is people don't know this because the media, I get BBC, obviously intentionally trying to manipulate their audience into believing something that's not true. This study analyzed all homicides involving transgender people in Britain from 2000 to 2025, so 25-year study. Let's see. So there you have it. So there's another myth slain. Wesley Yang, every claim made by the transgender movement is false. Part 26. Trans-identified people kill more often than they are killed. Tendentious reporting by Britain's state-funded broadcaster sustains a fake narrative exploited by the movement to blackmail society into enshrining imperious demands for legal recognition of people as something they are not into language and law. It's all falling apart now, right? And as we've seen with the walkbacks in so-called gender-affirming care in the U.S., in the UK, in Sweden, Norway, Denmark, these are like the wokest countries in Europe, right? It's starting to fall apart. Of course, Canada will be the last bastion, guaranteed, 100%. Let's see. What do we have next down here? All right. I think we already did that one. Let's get rid of this tab. What do we got next? Major development. A federal judge has ruled the Trump DOJ can officially keep 600 plus ballot boxes seized by the FBI in Fulton County, Georgia. The DOJ does not have to return any election materials. Fraud is about to come out. So let's take a look at this. And wouldn't it be embarrassing if they actually find a bunch of fraud? It would be if the left would admit reality, but if that is indeed the case, which we don't know yet. But let's take a look.
Tonight, FBI agents are going through materials found today during a search of the Fulton County, Georgia election office. That search is said to be related to the 2020 election. Correspondent David Spunt has details tonight. Good evening, David.
Brett, good evening. FBI agents are still on site at the records warehouse for the Fulton County, Georgia Board of Elections. The matter is sealed before a court, meaning details are limited, but we can report this is related to the 2020 presidential election. Sources tell Fox News that agents retrieved documents, phones, and computers after a judge signed a warrant. President Trump has long made Georgia, and specifically Fulton County, a target of his complaints relating to the 2020 election. Shortly after that election, Trump spoke to Georgia's Secretary of State, Brad Raffensperger, and said he needed 11,780 votes to win the state. At the time, Raffensperger said he felt pressure from Trump and denied any widespread election fraud. He continues to deny it to this day. Now, Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis brought state criminal charges against then former President Trump and others in 2023 for conspiracy to overturn the election. But her prosecution, Brett, was eventually derailed completely after it was revealed she had an intimate relationship with the top prosecutor on her team, and it could have tainted the case. Late last year, a judge dismissed the case in its entirety. Now, Brett, last month, the Justice Department sued Fulton County, Georgia, seeking access to 2020 voting records after state officials allegedly failed to respond to a subpoena. Fox News has learned the head of the FBI's Atlanta field office was recently forced out in recent days, but it's unclear, Brett, if this is all related.
So we'll just have to wait to see what comes out. There's so much that nothing ever actually comes of it. We were all lied to. Tulsi Gabbard says. Video shows suitcases filled with ballots pulled after supervisors told poll workers to leave.
Left-hand corner of the screen. This is about 11:01 p.m. on November 3rd. This is election night in Fulton County at the State Farm Arena. What you see toward the back are the tables that contain the scanners for the absentee ballots. You see at least 5 individuals back there. This is after the press has gone, the Republican observers are gone, the people who are separating the ballots from the envelopes are gone. So these are the only people left behind. At about this time, which is about half an hour after everyone else cleared out, I believe the workers cleared out at about 10:30. The observers cleared out closer to 10:40. You're going to watch each of these individuals begin pulling cases out from under that black table in the lower center of the screen.
Unbelievable.
$21,200, $483B.
So after supervisors told poll workers to leave. So, I mean, it does look sketchy, doesn't it? Does.
FBI agents are going.
People had their social media channels nuked for just talking about this stuff. YouTube channels nuked, right? Demonetized or just completely canceled. You know, certainly they weren't very friendly to, Twitter. Back then it was Twitter. You were at serious risk of being banned, permanently banned for talking about this stuff. I think in hindsight now, we can say, I mean, yeah, that was evil. That was really bad. That was totally authoritarian and political, obviously. All right. All right, so that's all. We can get rid of that tab now. What's this here? Check this out. Before we get back to the chat, let's take a look at this. So from Tim Burchett, who's now the chair of Doge, and that seems to be frustrating him to a great extent. He says it's all theater. So he's responded to this post from Wokeness. Representative Justin Pearson in 2016 versus 2026. So he's a Democrat. So let's see how he started out and where he ended up.
Justin J. Pearson, and I'm running for president of BSG. There are a few reasons that we're running this campaign this year. One has to do with representation. How can we represent all voices in a conversation? I wanted to do this by partnering with organizations from the Bowdoin Democrats to the Bowdoin Republicans. I want to bring together different voices, dissenting voices, voices that may be more liberal or more conservative, in order that we can reach a point of sort of the radical middle.
Here, you've had 3 strikes laws, mass incarceration, denied us of who we are, and we are still here. And today, you'll take the only majority black district from us. But I want you to know, and I want my nephew, sons, and the future to know, no matter what you do, no matter how much you try and...
Okay, so what did Tim Burchett say again? What did he say? He said it's all theater. So I guess this wasn't working for him well enough. So we watched the Malcolm X movie and got a Sly and the Family Stone CD. And playlist. You get a playlist now. And I figured that's going to work better for me. So I mean, it's just clear and stark, isn't it? Just clear and stark. It's all theater. It's all just manipulation. Wow. Back to Tim Burchett here. So from MJ Truth Ultra. Okay, this is crazy, apparently. So Tim Burchett here is talking about NGOs, the massive corruption with the NGOs and money being funneled back to Democrats again. He's talking to Joe Rogan. Let's take a look.
Now, and you've got NGOs. Now, how many NGOs you think operate out of over there?
Oh, how many?
Over 1,000. And then you throw in the United Nations. And
out of Afghanistan?
Yeah,
there's 1,000 NGOs?
It's the freakingest, it's the biggest scam. NGOs, I wrote a letter to the president months ago, and they've tapped the brakes on the NGOs. I mean, some of them don't have any money, and some of them got a lot. But Elon Musk told me, like I really know him. I mean, I hung out with him a couple of times and we talked. Called me Tim, which I thought was pretty cool. But he says, Tim, here's how these NGOs work. He said, they start out as a good organization, maybe during Bush 1 or Bush 2. A lot of those limousine liberals, do-gooders, they start these organizations. And they set them up and to do, feed the starving children or whatever. Well, they don't have any money in them. And some billionaire who we all know, you can just name them, they'll drop $1 million in one of those. And then this unelected bureaucrat in Washington, D.C. says, hey, they got $1 million. This place is legit. And so they give them money. They put the money in there for them. And then they start running federal money through that, yours and my tax dollars. And he told me he thinks they stole over $1 trillion. And I thought, at the time, I thought that was crazy. But then I start looking at, what happened in Minnesota, $19 billion. Joe, when I went to state legislature, our state budget of Tennessee wasn't $19 billion. It was years ago. So it's a lot more than that now. But that's the amount of fraud and waste and abuse that go on. Well, so backtrack to this deal. So I get involved with it, and it's just unbelievable. It took me I passed the bill twice. The second time, my buddy John Stout in the office there, he comes up with an even stronger version. And so we send it to the Senate. And so we find out that there's a Senate staffer that somebody said he's like the unofficial ambassador to Afghanistan. I've literally read where he said, appears to me, complimentary things about the Taliban. Now, those people want to kill us. As I like to say, they'll hate us for free. We don't need to give them any money. Well, it's like pulling teeth through my committee. The Democrats raised a ruckus, and because obviously they don't want anybody looking at those NGOs. And the NGO money, now get this, it maybe a little bit goes to feed some starving kid, but a lot of it gets washed, and it goes back to the good old United States of America. Are you familiar with dark money and campaigns?
Yes.
The folks back home, the day before the election, the people for American justice approved this ad. Did you know Tim Burchett, pushed his second grade girlfriend down in a mud puddle and never apologized? That's what happened, and then paid for by the people for American justice, and then, but what's happened is that money that you're sending over there is coming back in the form of dark money. And we've got, and I think both parties are involved with it at some point. I think the Democrats have had a run of it, and they've got it pretty much closed. They've got a pretty good market going on it, in my opinion. And there are probably some Republicans I think I know of that have some dark money too, and not necessarily from this, but from other things. And then you start talking about the UN. The UN has got, and everybody says, "Well, that's UN, Burchett. We don't have anything." The heck we don't. We sponsor the freaking UN. If it was up to me, I'd pull out of the dadgum UN. They are nothing. All they do is get Americans killed. They talk ugly about us, and they take our dadgum money, and we let them do it because crooked politicians are in bed. Washington is crooked as a dog's leg, Joe. And this bill makes them report it and follow the money, so we know where it's going. And if it's going to the Taliban, it's out. And
can you just explain to me how they would justify sending money to the Taliban, and what is the circumstance? Like, how do they
justify it by saying it doesn't happen?
Like, how is that not just an instant win? Like, how is that just not a win across the board, right? Like, not giving money to the Taliban. It's amazing, isn't it? And as for the UN, look, any organization that would put Saudi Arabia as the head of the Council on Women's Rights, right there, that's just a deal killer right there. You are not serious people. What is this? Is this just purely political? Like, clearly, the UN has become something uninterested in, well, certainly women's rights at that point, obviously, right? Like, just total lunacy. Yeah, I don't know. It is just mad, isn't it? It's totally mad. All right. We've seen all that. Let's get rid of this tab. Let's go back to the chat for a minute. What are you guys talking about? I want to see what you guys are saying. Amazing Faces says, the word province is now being scrubbed from all BC provincial parks. Oh, I did see something about that. It's weird. It's just so dumb. Professional managerial class. JDL, how you doing? PMC, professional managerial class. Yep. Well, that's Canada now, right? It's 1 in 5 people work for the government now. Let's see. Izzy says, Rumble ad read for the Rumble wallet. Well, it's a great product, so can't complain. I'd have one, but I have no money to put into any wallet. Well, I don't know. Hopefully one day. Let's see. Mental health. That female golfer has a nice looking rack worth feelings. Maybe we should change it up, though, because that's been on there for a while. How about some women's martial arts? There we go. This is a good one. Women's sports. I'm a huge fan of women's sports. Let's see. Amazing Faces says, soon they'll be giving the provincial parks to the natives. Well, already they essentially have, right? They've made some areas, there are lakes and things. It's some areas where they've said that, non-indigenous can't go there, not allowed there anymore. It's all, I mean, the parks that British Columbians paid for the maintenance, paid for the infrastructure to get there and whatever is there. It's all insane. It can't continue. It's madness. It's going to build up a horrific level of resentment, and it's happening already. Let's see. Dan Pam says, if Alberta leaves, Saskatchewan and BC would likely follow. Well, it would make sense for that to happen, to be a block, right? Because then Alberta would have that corridor to Asia for a pipeline. Metal says 10 out of 10 ad read, Richie. Thank you so much. I believe that's almost the most you get out of 10. Rosie says, Rumble wallet ad needs more commie hate. 9.2 out of 10. Well, that's pretty good. I believe that is the most you can get out of 10. Let's see. Ottawa James says Alberta probably won't leave. Too many in the cities will vote against it. I think October might be too soon. Because looking at the polling, even saying the polling was, say, 10 points off, it would still be a hell of a job for October, to get it by October. But you could be looking at something, in 3 or 4 years. Who knows? It's just, there is no bottom, for the Liberals, right? There's the abyss is just awaiting. We're just about to teeter over into the abyss at this point. Let's see. Rosie says she hopes Alberta leaves and becomes a sovereign country. All right, I'm going to skip down to the end here because we're already an hour and 35 in. All right. Oh, it looks like we're losing G-Flood. Got a new job. 11 till 6 driving 40 minutes each way. Oh, dear. Anyway, thanks for stopping in, G-Flood. Good to see you. Video says Reform Party did okay in the UK. Well, they did amazingly well. Let's see. All right. What do we got here? Okay, we are going to talk about Canada in the creeping authoritarianism. It's not even really creeping authoritarianism. It's not even really creeping authoritarianism at this point. It's leaping by jumps and bounds, or moving leaps and bounds authoritarianism in Canada at this point. It's most of Mark Carney's legislation is on basically censorship control. Here's one here's a bill, C22, which is about surveilling Canadians. So it's supposed to be about crime, but it just so happens also that they'll be able to just surveil Canadians at will. They didn't even think about it. Let's see. CBC Watcher, Jim Jordan's House Judiciary Committee, the same one that exposed and helped dismantle Mark Carney's G-Fans climate cartel for antitrust collusion, is now zeroing in on Carney's bill C22. Yes, so Mark Carney's darlings, the G-Fans, the Net Zero Banking Alliance, all defunct now. And yeah, G-Fans and the Banking Alliance were investigated in the United States Judiciary Committee. So, yeah, let's see. This isn't just a Canadian privacy nightmare. It's a direct threat to American trade. So, what does he say? Let's take a look here. Canadians know America doesn't need its closest trading partner, turning into a surveillance state that scares off innovation and forces U.S. companies into impossible compliance choices. Free societies don't mandate spyware on apps and devices. Leave that to China. What is it saying here? Bill C22 would impose broad obligations on electronic service providers to develop, implement, assess, test, and maintain operational and technical capabilities for authorized persons to access encrypted data and information. And this is to the Minister of Public Safety in Canada, Gary Ananda Sangari. And this is from Congress of the United States. So, let's see. In practice, providers offering end-to-end encryption services will inevitably face directives to create backdoors and architectural changes that bypass or weaken encryption to enable lawful interception or data extraction. So lawful in quotes there. We write to express our concerns that, if enacted, Bill C-22 would allow Canadian government officials to compel American companies to build backdoors into their encrypted systems, thereby introducing systemic vulnerabilities that could be exploited by hackers, foreign adversaries, and cyber criminals. So in other words, the Canadian government just wants to make everything worse again. The Liberal government of Canada. Let's go to the Canadian Constitution Foundation, talking about Bill C-22 increases the risk of surveillance state. I don't like the sound of that. Government spying. So, yeah, there's the big brother, Canadian big brother right there. Let's see. The CCF, Canadian Constitution Foundation, warned that Bill C-2 would have opened the door further to a surveillance state and violated the privacy rights protected by Section 8 of the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. Now, the original bill was C-2, split into two bills, BC-12, then Bill C-22. That's the bill we're talking about now, the Lawful Access Act. What would it do? Require companies that provide electronic services to create technical capabilities to allow easy access to private data for law enforcement and Canadian Security Intelligence Services Act, CSIS. So, backdoors, essentially, which then creates a security risk. Allow the government to require companies to collect metadata like the location of your devices for up to 1 year. Allow the Minister of Public Safety and Emergency Preparedness, in consultation with the Information Commissioner, to order secret spying on Canadians. This is supposed to be about crime, but I really have to wonder. In fact, I don't wonder. I know they will use this against ordinary Canadians, especially Canadians that are criticizing the government. May allow the Minister of Public Safety and Emergency Preparedness to order companies to break encryption. So, what else is new in Canada? What else is new from the Liberal government in Canada? A lot of talk from Mark Carney about high-flown ideas about democracy and freedom and blah, blah. None of it means anything. All of his talk about Canada leading the middle powers in some revolt against the United States while we join the Chinese New World Order, all this stuff. What's really going on at home is these are the kinds of bills. This is the kind of legislation that he's pushing. Hate bills, bills like this, spying, surveillance bills. It's there seems to be an obsession with the Liberal Party, going from Justin Trudeau now to Mark Carney with controlling Canadians, controlling and intimidating Canadians, and punishing Canadians for saying the wrong things, for accurately describing reality, say. So I don't trust them at all. And nobody should. You'd have to be crazy to. Looks like they don't trust them in the States. They're not liking this. And the tech companies are not liking it either. And they see the obvious dangers of it. Let's see. Roman Baber, MP, Member of Parliament, Conservative in Canada. He says, I asked Canada's top 3 privacy law professors what's really going on with Bill C22 lawful access. Well, let's find out. What's really going on? Are they doing it to protect us? I sure hope they're doing it to protect us for our safety.
Mr. Fraser, you're a lawyer in good standing with the Law Society of Nova Scotia?
I am.
Practicing for over 25 years?
As of last month.
And you're a technology and internet lawyer with the McInnes law firm. I also understand you're a prominent speaker on technology and internet issues. So I came across one of your YouTube videos on this law that we're studying now, C22 lawful access, and I'd like to provide the committee a quick transcript of your remarks. If Bill C22, the Lawful Access Act of 2026, became the law, the government of Canada will be able to secretly order Apple to build in a capability into its infrastructure to allow Canadian law enforcement and national security folks to track every iPhone, every iPad, every Apple Watch, every Apple AirPod, and every AirTag in real time. They'll now be able to require Apple to confirm whether they provide you with any services. Then law enforcement can go to Justice of the Peace and get an order without actually believing that a crime has been or will be committed, requiring Apple to hand over every device identifier for every device that you use with their services. That's the digital ID for your phone, for your iPad, Apple Watch, AirPod, Apple TV, Apple AirTag. With that information, they can go back to the judge and get an order requiring Apple to give them the moment-by-moment location of all of your devices. Oh, and that secret order also required Apple to keep your location history for a full year, so cops can get that too. So what's the problem, Mr. Fraser?
By the way, I mean, one of the outcomes of this could be very similar to what happened with the Online News Act, which resulted in no Canadian news on any Meta products. So Facebook, Instagram, all of that. No Canadian news. By the way, that was a major income source for a lot of independent media in Canada. I think hundreds of independent outlets went out of business because of that. Almost seems like it might have been the point, actually, of that Trudeau legislation. And we could see possibly something like, is it possible that Apple might just say, well, you know what? We can't do this, and we're not going to sell Apple products in Canada anymore. Liberals would be fine with that, I'm sure.
All of it. All of it. Certainly the judicial oversight, I have very few concerns with. The threshold is obviously important. But if you take a look at all of these pieces as they go together, so part 2 can require an electronic service provider. Undeniably, Apple is an electronic service provider, subject to a secret order to preserve metadata, location information, all that sort of stuff, and even build in new capabilities to their devices. That's under Section 7(2)A and B. And then you look at, so once that information exists, you can go to a judge and get an order on reasonable suspicion related to confirmation of service, then reasonable suspicion related to basic subscriber information, then reasonable suspicion in order to get metadata, tracking information, transaction information that they've been required to save. So this is an entire package, or a potential entire package, that we need to look at holistically and in detail.
Without actually believing that a crime has been committed, without swearing an affidavit saying, I believe that a crime has been committed, and therefore I, Your Honor, get a court order. I'd like to dispose of some of the legal arguments that the Liberals make, and I'd like to get specific, if I may, with Mr. Diab. One of the arguments that is made on Section 8, and that's the arbitrary seizure, because what the government's proposing to do is to seize metadata, all of it, and order that be held for 365 days without knowing or suggesting that any offense has been committed. But there is some jurisprudence on Section 8, arbitrary search and seizure, that suggests that seizure requires a production. And here we have no production. How do you respond to that?
The seizure is in the holding of it.
Exactly.
It's in the recording.
The seizure is the fact that information is being held. And the fact that it's not held by the cops, but held on behalf of the cops by order of government is what makes it seizure, because you have government compelling private sector to hold on to the information. On to Professor Geist. It's very nice to see you in your non-Twitter persona. Professor Geist, I have a major concern specifically with the language of who can be bound by these orders. And specifically, it's the electronic service providers that can be compelled by a minister to come up, design a system, backdoor, etc. And so I look at the definition of service provider. It's Part 2, Section 2, the definitions. It's basically anyone that provides electronic services to persons in Canada and does business in Canada. So then I go and I look to see the definition of electronic service, and it means anyone that involves in creation, recording, storage, processing, transmission, reception, or emission of electronic communication. Well, sounds to me like any law firm would be sending emails or receiving emails through its server. Any bank would, any doctor's office would, and yet we hear from the Liberal officials that only internet companies are subjected to this, but that's not what this legislation says.
No, that's consistent with the question that was raised earlier. No, it clearly is not what it says at the moment.
Yeah, so there's an obsession with authoritarianism in the left now. And, you know, the Liberal Party of Canada, the Liberal Party of Canada is not your father's Liberal Party of Canada, right? It was remade in the image of Justin Trudeau and his progressive socks. It bears no resemblance to the Liberal Party of the 90s, say. It's now a radical progressive party, and Trudeau himself said the Liberal Party is a progressive party. Right, and as we know, the further left you go, the more authoritarian you get. That's just history. That's just all we have is just all of history to go off of for that. So, yeah, of course, any law like this will end up being expanded to just everything: your text messages, your emails, everything. Just some bureaucrat going through it all, having a laugh, maybe. Who knows? So yeah, that's the state of Canada. It's not getting any better. All right, let's move. I think we did that. Okay, what do we got? Go back to the chat for a second before we get started. Let's see. Are you guys talking about troll dolls now? Good Lord. All right, mental health is going into lurk mode too. Sorry. It's the Canadian news. As soon as we get into the Canadian news, I lose everybody. That's a problem. But I have to do it because I care. That's the thing. All right. Roman Baber. We got some Roman Baber fans in the chat. Ottawa James says, met that guy in Ottawa. Cool. All right. Let's get on. What do we got next? Oh, yeah. Okay, so we did this. And we're going to get rid of that one now. And what do we got here? Oh, yeah. Melissa posted this. Melissa L.M. Rogers. So Obama is dining with Carney tonight. Tomorrow, 2 potential 2028 Democratic presidential contenders are joining Carney at a liberal strategy session. Buttigieg, Booty Sauce, I don't know, and Slotkin. Just imagine the outrage if this was on the conservative Republican side. Yes, exactly. Exclusive. Booty Sauce and Slotkin join Canada's Carney at Liberal Strategy Session. So where is all the panic now about American-style politics in Canada? Where is all that now? Because we heard so much about the Maple MAGA, American-style politics. Well, I mean, how about this? They're Americans, right? Oh, it's just they're not Republicans, so it's okay. With the media here, right? I mean, they like Democrats because they're also progressive, right? Radical progressive. So they like them. So that's okay. That's American-style politics for the Liberal Party is fine. I mean, let's face it, the progressives, all the progressives in Canada, everything they know was cooked up in some, gender studies or critical race theory course at an Ivy League in the United States. So already leftist Canadian politics is just American politics. It's American left-wing politics, right? Already, I mean, they owe everything they have to, whatever woke studies in, Harvard, for instance. So, but yeah, I mean, it's just the double standard in Canada, right? The double standard, and it's totally shameless, by the way, totally shameless. This isn't an American. This is an American outlet, I believe. But no, in Canadian media, you don't see any outrage over it. All right, what do we got here? Maybe we'll save this one for Sunday. Maybe we'll save that for Sunday. I might be getting too tired. What's going on here? Black Americans really created democracy in this country, says AOC. They just say anything. They don't care about reality. They're not interested in reality. They are just interested in winning. They're just interested in saying things that sound progressive. That sounds progressive. Is it real? No. Is it totally historically illiterate? I mean, beyond belief? Yes. Does that matter? Does that matter to her? Does that matter to the people that support her? No. What matters to them is that it sounds progressive. It's a progressive sounding thing. Therefore, must be good and must be true. And frankly, they don't care whether it's true or not, right? Just they want to support the thing that sounds progressive and won't get anybody calling them a racist.
There are very few like real archetypes of, in my opinion, truly what America is all about. I think about.
There are very few archetypes truly what America is all about. I mean, wow. Wow. Maybe president one day. Maybe president one day.
The civil rights and voting rights movement and how Black Americans really created democracy in this country.
Right. That's exactly right.
How they literally.
And she's nodding. Like her interviewer there's just nodding along like a moron. That's right. That's right. No, it's not. It's ludicrous, actually.
How they literally made something from nothing.
Something from nothing. Something from nothing. How was America founded, AOC? How was America founded? Huh. What was the Constitution again? Who were those guys who wrote that? Something from nothing, she says. Wow.
It is just beyond me. I think about how, like, Native people have survived and preserved and treasured their culture.
And survived and treasured and their culture. Good Lord. It's actually painful, isn't it? Well, let's continue.
I think about, and I think many of us think about immigrants, which if you aren't from one of those first two populations, you are certainly from largely the third. And so many of us like have our story of our parents, our grandparents, our great-great-grandparents, and so on and so forth. And
so many of us have our story of our parents, our grandparents, and so on and so forth. I mean, it's hard to believe. It's just watching her struggle to keep the thread, to hold on to the thread. How did this start? What am I talking about again? I'll just keep offering up some weird. I'm going to try and think of some platitudes, I guess, and talk about grandparents. And let's continue.
Who like come and make something from nothing. And I think that's a big part of also the most inspiring elements of what America is all about.
What do you mean, like the original settlers? Like the Pilgrims? You mean like them? She's not talking about them. Wow. I think this stems from their desire to totally destroy history. So, like, history starts now, right? History starts this morning, right? And every morning you have to wake up, and history is just whatever you want it to be, actually. You want it to be, with the 1619 project, it's that now, right? Everything's malleable. Objective reality doesn't matter. All that matters is that you sound progressive all the time. Outcomes don't matter. Human well-being doesn't matter. Just it sounds progressive, right? That's, by the way, how you get like millions of people starving to death, for instance. A bunch of people who know nothing taking over and central planning, and nobody knows how to do anything. And the people that do know how to do things can't, because people like, well, a person like maybe an AOC is in control and won't let them. Maybe kill all the sparrows so they don't eat the crops. That went great in China. Let's see. Not that AOC is as smart as Mao. Mao was actually pretty smart, just a total psychopath. We have yet to see how much of a psychopath AOC can be, what her potential is. Wow. Yeah, that's painful. Painful. It's shocking that this is like one of the best known political forces globally for the United States. Like, people know who she is. And it's depressing, is it not? Let's see. Oh, we already saw this crazy old bet. Jesus. Tell you, it's the Boomers Crusade. It's amazing. They all went nuts. They put something in the butterscotch pudding, and it did this to them. It made them go mad. They put PCP in the butterscotch pudding. They put PCP in the tapioca. And now they've all lost their fucking minds. All right. Let's go back to the chat for a minute. You better not be still talking about troll dolls. Just warning you. Trudeau Survivor says the government cannot escape constitutional restraints by delegating its authority to private parties to accomplish indirectly what it cannot do directly. Well, that's exactly what they're doing with the Online Streaming Act. For instance, they're doing that. They're telling, like YouTube, for instance, what they have to do. Well, what they have to prioritize and deprioritize in the algorithm relating to Canadian content. So that's exactly what they've done, and they're going to continue doing until we can get a sane government that can throw all that stuff in the trash where it belongs. Geez, all the demon rats at the liberal strategy session. I hope AOC's there. Gives them some great advice, and I hope that they listen. Let's see. Got that crazy old. Yeah, I already did this crazy old bet. What's going on here? All right. I've talked a lot about Tim Hortons, the decline of Tim Hortons, right? Used to enjoy going to Tim Hortons. Then all of a sudden, there were no Canadians working there anymore. The last time I went to one, there was one that lived a couple blocks away in the place I used to live. And the last time I went there were flies all over the donuts. And I'd noticed that it was getting grosser and harder to order because nobody spoke English. And just the whole thing, it was just kind of dirtier and it started smelling not great. And the last time I was there were just flies everywhere. Flies everywhere on the donuts. And I went, why did they do this to the restaurant? Why did they make the restaurant so gross that I am not going to eat that? I walked in happy to give them my money and went, no, I'm never giving my money to them again until they stop doing this. But they save money with those temporary foreign workers. So, who cares, I guess. Why anybody would go there? Anyway, I have no idea. Curious George posted this. A Canadian woman from the Toronto area is going viral on TikTok for calling out perpetual temporary foreign worker abuser Tim Hortons for their terrible food quality at multiple locations, the poor service from the employees they continue to hire, and she vows to never frequent another Tim's restaurant again. I did this years ago. Years ago, it was already this bad. But let's take a look.
So I've made the executive decision in my life that I will no longer be consuming Tim Hortons anymore. The quality of Tim Hortons over the last 10 years, probably longer than 10 years, has gone downhill tremendously. It's actually embarrassing because as a Canadian, when I go to the United States' Tim Hortons taste better than ours. And that's sad. Now, I grew up in the Greater Toronto area, specifically Scarborough, and the Tim Hortons there is always just terrible. Now, anytime I go visit my parents, right now I live in Durham region, and the Tim Hortons out here sucks as well. And I'm starting to think it's a franchise issue, which is probably the case. I think that the franchise owners don't care about quality anymore. They clearly don't care about staff because somebody came to take my order and she obviously just finished having a Tim Hortons pastry herself, and she had like a bunch of fucking crumbs on her face. And I was just thinking, like, you're gonna come ask me, serve me my food, and you're gonna look like that? Like, come on now, like, come on. So that was disgusting. But honestly, what really was the straw that broke the camel's back for me, which I should have stopped having Tim Hortons years ago, from when I was 18, working at the bank, thinking, this quality is off. Like, oh gosh, you can only get certain things from there. I used to just stick to only, after a while, cinnamon raisin bagels with butter, which is boring. But why am I paying like almost $3 for a bagel and I can't even enjoy it? I had it the other day. It was terrible. So after a couple weeks ago, I said, you know what? I got to stop with Tim Hortons. The quality is terrible. Terrible, terrible, terrible. My dad stopped having Tim Hortons years ago because he said, this is horrible. And honestly, yeah, I don't know. I feel like I can't be the only one that is extremely disappointed with Tim Hortons, because it's also an affordable fast food Canadian breakfast place. So, you know, you want to be able to just get it on the go. You want to be able to support them, but they're terrible, terrible. Oh my gosh. Oh, I'm trying to keep it as limited as possible, this video. But honestly, guys, it's been really bad. It's been really bad. It's been really bad. Like I said, I grew up in Scarborough, Midland and Lawrence. That gas station, Tim Hortons, terrible, terrible, terrible for years. I haven't been having that. I haven't been eating at that location for years when I was living with my parents. And then there was a location up the street, Midland and Eglinton, terrible. They got closed down, but they were terrible. I've had terrible Tim Hortons coffee from the West End. I've had terrible Tim Hortons coffee north. Terrible Tim Hortons coffee Durham. The other day they gave me a coffee and the whole lid was disgusting. This was maybe like a month ago, actually. And the lid was disgusting. And I was like, oh, ma'am. I was like, ma'am, before you gave me this coffee, you didn't know that this lid was like this? It was full of dust. It was stained already. I was like, ma'am, seriously. I'm disappointed, guys.
Yeah, well, she doesn't care. She probably sleeps in the broom closet. She's a temporary foreign worker. That's actually happened, by the way. They discovered that people sleeping at the Tim Hortons, like literally in the broom closet. So what happened is that Tim Hortons went from being this kind of nice little part of Canadian culture to a franchise of rural Punjabi villages. So you had kind of this nice little part of Canadian culture that Canadian kids would work at. And then you walk in and it's a rural Punjabi village that sells donuts with flies on them. So that's the problem. I don't know why anybody still goes there, right? And yet summer's coming, so it's definitely fly season at Tim Hortons again. Why would anybody? It baffles me that anybody still goes there. I mean, I guess it's just convenience. You're on your lunch break or whatever, but nobody likes it anymore. It's gross. So yeah, the word is getting out. The word is getting out about Tim Hortons, and the word is not good. Hold on, I'm gonna mute the mic. I got to cough for a second. Sorry, guys. I got these allergies going on. It's not good. All right. Let's move on. Now, what are we talking about? Buried on page 77 of Mark Carney's Spring Economic Update is another massive foreign aid project. Who's this from? Canada Proud posted this. Nobody in the media reported on this. Well, they wouldn't, because it would make Mark Carney, well, it would make Canadians maybe mad, right? Like maybe like the 2 million people at food banks might make them mad to hear that there's promise saying, very thrilled to send $13 billion for climate-related support. Well, let's take a look. So here we have the Spring Economic Update, advancing clean growth and conservation. Pardon me. As the global economy moves towards lower carbon pathways, that's just a lie. It's not happening. It's not happening, right? Europe, green Europe. Well, Germany had to start reopening their coal mines again to power themselves because they've made such incredibly stupid decisions regarding net zero and energy. But Europe is getting as much non-green, non-net zero, non-decarbonized, whatever the hell that's supposed to be, decarbonized oil, natural gas, as they can from the United States, right? United States, ixnay on the net zero, Trump said, and there's none of that. It's all a giant lie from the UN climate finance envoy, Mark Carney. And by the way, Mark Carney, here's the United Nations. Mr. Mark Joseph Carney of Canada, Special Envoy on Climate Action and Finance. Finance. Because, there's a lot of money to be made, a lot of money. Well, there was a lot of money to be made. Not as much now as that banking alliance fell apart, by the way, shortly before he became prime minister, weirdly. Let's see. The government's climate competitiveness strategy. Competing with whom exactly? Who are we competing with? Because nobody else is making their oil or natural gas more expensive on purpose. Like, it's not like it's you don't become more competitive by making your products more expensive for no damn good reason when everybody knows. I mean, Carney himself must know we're not going to change the global climate. Let's see. But we keep seeing that. Hold on. Oh, super frog in my throat. But we keep seeing this compete, competitiveness. It makes us less competitive. Obviously, if we're the only ones doing it, nobody's playing this game. Transition through this transition. The transition isn't happening. It's all just lies. Let's see. Helping developing countries phase out high-emitting energy sources and adopting clean technologies. That's not going to do them any good. That's just going to make them poorer. So, and by the way, it's my opinion, my humble opinion, that helping developing countries phase out high-emitting energy sources is none of Canada's goddamn business. You know what's Canada's business? 2 million people at food banks. How about that? How about 47,000 full-time jobs lost last month? That's Canada's business. Let's say strengthen resilience through continued contributions to international climate finance. What was Mark Carney again? He was the special envoy on climate action and finance. Climate finance. Climate finance. It's his book is all about this, by the way. He's been spending his time before being prime minister setting up his ESG fund at Brookfield, which relies on climate finance, by the way, to exist, to make money, right? And Mark Carney's been, spent a lot of time setting up this international climate finance framework. He's made a lot of promises. He's told a lot of people they're going to make a lot of money. Guess what? Now he's got an entire country's credit card at his disposal. So my prediction is that's not going to go well. Look at all this money here. Refundable investment tax credits for, provide large capital subsidies. Let's see, $13.1 billion for clean technology, carbon capture and storage, $14.5 billion, clean hydrogen, $7 billion, clean technology manufacturing, $7.3 billion. $27 billion here for clean electricity, and refundability supports firms regardless of near-term profitability. What about medium-term and long-term non-profitability? Let's see. But here we go. Continuing to support international climate finance. You can see the money is just endless. Canada has just endless money here, right? $3 billion over 5 years on a cash basis to Global Affairs Canada, $167 million over 5 years on a cash basis to Environment and Climate Change Canada to continue delivering climate-related supports to vulnerable countries. Yeah, Global Affairs Canada. They're the guys who spent Global Affairs. Yeah, Global Affairs Canada. They're the guys who sent over millions of dollars for gender just rice in, I don't know, Myanmar or Vietnam or something. Total good use of Canadians' money. This is something Canadians have been wanting to do for a long time. Gender just rice. All right. Anyway, let's just get to the end here. Catalyzed. Of course, you're going to see the word catalyzed if it's something from Carney. Everybody take a shot. The government's goal is for Canada to deliver $13 billion in climate-related support to developing countries over the next 5 years. Why? Why do we have to do this? I think climate-related support is not Canada's business, not when we are broke. And borrowing money just to keep the government running. So, yeah, that's what I think. But there you go. Carney is so generous with your money and with your grandchildren and great-grandchildren's money who are going to have to pay. We'll probably still be paying the interest on the debt that he racks up by the time, in 100 years and 200 years from now. So, yeah, thanks, Carney. Thank you. All right. Let's see. What do we got going on now? Shall we take a quick look at this Epstein suicide note found in Epstein's cell after the July 23rd incident? The handwriting appears authentic. I don't think we really learned anything from this. They investigated me for a month, found nothing. So 16-year-old charges, I think, reinstated, I think that says. It's a treat to be able to choose one's time to say goodbye. What you want me to do? Bust out crying. No fun, not worth it. I mean, I don't know what this does. It's just a note there. So it's there. So we looked at it. Now we can move on. Let's go back to the chat for a second. Let's see. Let's see. Freedom Butterfly says, I use a portable nebulizer for allergies, just low saline solution. It makes a fine mist like a cloud and gets all the gunk out. Maybe I need to be doing that. Thank you for the advice there. Let's see. Let's see. What else we got? Hold on one second. Oh, hold on. Okay, hold on. I don't know what James says. I don't get why these dumb voters elected him. Because they were brainwashed, is why. And they know nothing. Let's see. Honestly, I think if people had bothered to learn about anything about Mark Carney and like his record at the Bank of England, for instance, I don't think he would have gotten elected, but nobody did. Let's see. Where are we next? What are we going to do? We're going to do, oh, good Lord. All right. So let's take a look at this. What do we have here from the Daily Mail? So this is a British paper, and Canada is world famous now for our lunacy, for our madness. And what's this about? Canadian school children forced to flee woke play about Indigenous rights after sleazy drag queen character began behaving very inappropriately. So these were grade 9 students, I believe. And they were subjected to this. Hold on. So this is what they were forced to watch. A teacher thought this would be a great idea. So did drag queens play a big part in pre-colonial Indigenous culture? Did they ask any Indigenous people about this, if that was appropriate for a play about their rights. It goes to show that it's not ever about one thing. It's all just a big mishmash, right? At the end of the day, it's all about Marxism, ultimately. It's never about the issue. It's always about the revolution. So this is why you get these weird mashups, because, gays again, or gays for Palestine, this sort of thing. Or queers for Palestine, that sort of thing. Because none of it is coherent, and it's not whatever the issue is, it's not about that. Let's see. A group of Canadian school children were forced to flee a theater performance about Indigenous rights after a drag queen began gyrating and putting their boobs in kids' faces. Oh, good Lord. Campbell Collegiate students in Saskatchewan were pulled out midway through a performance at the Globe Theatre this week after the production reached levels of maturity beyond expectations. The complaint centered around the antics of drag queen Nick Miami Benz, who was performing in a rendition of Little Red Warrior, and his lawyer, a courtroom drama about an Indigenous person who fights for their ancestral land. And of course, who could play the lawyer but a drag queen? Yes. Again, I've got a feeling this wasn't such a big part of Indigenous culture before colonization. It's almost like they're trying to colonize Indigenous culture. Weird. I don't know. I thought they were against that. Let's see. So I went to the Saskatchewan Teachers Federation, and they say public assurance in the education system is important to all of us. That is why the Federation has developed high standards of professional ethics and practice to guide the behavior and practices of our members. Really? This is high standards of professional ethics? I don't feel like it is. I feel like there's probably a lot of things that parents don't know that are happening in those schools that they should know about. Yeah. I mean, how does it become even thinkable for a teacher? Like, how does it become even conceivable for a teacher to think this is a good place for me to take grade 9 students to this? How is that even conceivable? Like, it shows you how honestly just deranged our society has become, how morally confused we have become. It shouldn't be possible for this. Students appeared to be equally perturbed with a Snapchat video of the performance, apparently taken by a student captioned, "Guys, WTF is this play? No way is this a school trip." No, indoctrination trip, perhaps? Maybe indoctrination trip. So, yeah, this is the state of Canada. Don't be Canada. Canada is a cautionary tale and just an international laughingstock at this point. And by the way, Saskatchewan, this is Saskatchewan. That's a conservative province in Canada. And even there, this stuff is going on. And this is just what we've heard of. All right, here's Elizabeth May. Here's Elizabeth May, the leader of the Green Party in Canada. I believe she's the only one who has a seat, so it's just her. Ryan Garrettson says, I was getting worried for a bit, but the unhinged Elizabeth May we all know and love is back. I don't know if she's drunk in this one because, she has a history of kind of being drunk sometimes. Let's see. Let's take a look.
Madam Speaker, alarm bells are ringing of imminent global collapse of key climate systems. But
Greta Thunberg isn't an expert at anything, Elizabeth May. You don't have to listen to her, honestly. And none of Al Gore's predictions came true. So anyway, calm down.
The alarms are being drowned out by the cheering of liberals and conservatives for new and more climate-killing projects. Key experts say that there's a 50-50 chance of the collapse of the massive and complex Atlantic Ocean current system with devastating and catastrophic results. When will the government stop shutting off the alarms and try to act before we pass the tipping points?
Even if such a thing were going to happen, why does she think Canada can stop it? Canada can't. It's like, with 2.5% of global emissions, we cannot change the weather. Why aren't you going to China and protesting? They're over 30%. They're like a third of global emissions in China, right? With India, it's like well over like half. Why not make some trips? Why don't you go to India and China and do that? By the way, we could lower their emissions by selling them natural gas, but she's not for that because she's a brainless Green Party person. Yeah. But I'm glad she's back. I'm glad she's back with her doomsaying, right? The world's going to end. Don't forget, everybody. The sky's falling. Let's continue.
Yeah, Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And I want to say that Canada continues to be a global leader, global climate leader, and we are making our voice heard on the world stage. In fact, just last week at the G7.
And by leader, he means we're the only ones that are still doing any of this net zero stuff. There's countries that are pretending to, but the countries that are pretending to be all for this are getting absolutely as much oil and natural gas from anywhere they can get it. United States, Russia, wherever, as fast as they can. So I guess the joke's on us. Maybe one day we could have an election and it won't be anymore. Let's see. What's this? We'll save this one for Sunday. It's too much Canadian news. We'll save that one. Let's see. All right, we're on the last tab of the evening. We're 2 hours and 23 minutes in. What the heck are you guys talking about? Let's see. Trudeau Survivor says Tim Hortons created democracy. Created something from nothing. Tim Hortons has preserved, thrived, and treasured its culture. I think at some point, maybe one morning, everybody will wake up and all the Tim Hortons will just be gone. They'll just be empty lots. And then there'll just be like thousands of new Tim Hortons all through rural India. Perhaps. Maybe that's where this is going. And it'll become a treasured part of Punjabi culture for the future. Let's see. What do we got going on? Freedom Butterfly says, climate competitiveness is a race to the bottom. Yes, and it's not, it's uncompetitiveness. That's what it is. By definition, what else could it be? Making your product more expensive for no reason makes you less competitive. Well, it's not for no reason. It's for Mark Carney's global climate finance goals, right? And don't forget, his finances go as the ESG fund for Brookfield goes. So, it's not that there's no point. There is a point. It's just it's not for the benefit of Canadians. Anybody who thinks that Mark Carney is going to hang around after he's gotten what he needs out of the Canadian Treasury, is out of their minds. He parachuted in. He barely spent any time in Canada for years and years. Parachuted back in right before the election. His family lives in the States. He's going to be gone. He's never going to come back. He's just going to leave with his bags of money and never come back. Weird. The Patriot, Mark Carney. Yikes. The four passport patriot, Mark Carney. Dame Pam says, Baloney, the food banks here used to give 3 meat servings every 2 weeks, then drop to 1, and now give none. Well, it's my understanding, too. Part of the problem with that, too, is that when you've got people coming from different cultures who, in poorer countries, if they see there's something free, they will just take it whether they need it or not. And it's a cultural thing, and it's coming from a poor country. It's like a lot of older Chinese people who lived through, the famines, the Chinese famines during Maoism. They just had it ingrained in them that anything you can get free or super cheap, you just grab it. You have to, because you might need it, right? And you can empathize with that, right? But yeah, I think there's a big drain from non-Canadians going to food banks, right? Who just, there's free food, I'll just take it. They're not, it's a different culture, and there's not that same kind of sense of, I guess, shame around it. Let's see. Let's see. Apple cider vinegar works too, huh? That's an interesting one. Are you talking about allergies there? Maybe I should be trying that. JDL says climate Scientology. Yeah, that's what it is. Net zero is climate Scientology. Dame Pam says, when I was a reporter, I had no idea you were a reporter, Dame Pam. Thank you for letting us know. I interviewed Elizabeth May several times. It's hard to see what a fool she has become. Well, that's very interesting. I learned something new about the chat all the time. That's cool. And thanks for sharing that with us. So she's become more of a fool than she used to be. I always remember her as a fool. But all right. Let's see. Do you want to hear from Victor Davis Hanson? Or let's go to something kind of lighter first. We come back. Maybe we'll even save that for Sunday. What's going on here? So a guy wanted a pool, out of context human rights. So he just made himself a pool. Let's take a look. Oh, you know what? So at this point now is the point at the time in the show where we have to cut off the YouTube part of this and continue on X, Locals, and Rumble. So YouTube people, before we go, I just want to say, please go and subscribe to the second channel. It's like 8 months old now. There's already over 300 videos there. There's no clip videos going on this channel. It's only for live streams now. But all the new stuff is now going on Radio Baloney News. It's the featured channel on this channel. So it's super easy to find and subscribe. Please subscribe. The algorithm hates us. It hates me. It hates you. It fears how powerful we may become if we join forces. It's terrified by that. So let's go ahead and do that right now. And yeah, let's do that. Let's just everybody do that right now. Thank you. I appreciate that. You know that YouTube ain't going to help me out, right? So there we go. But thanks everybody on YouTube, and I hope to see you guys Sunday at 6:00. But we're continuing on Rumble, X, and Locals right now. So you go there. YouTube is a problem because at this point of the show, it's a totally broken copyright system on YouTube. So it's just easier for me just to end it before we get to the stuff we're going to get to. Thanks, everybody. I'll see you hopefully on Sunday. And we're continuing on X, Rumble, Locals. Bye, YouTube.